Good morning, everyone. I have something special for you today on the Saturday Morning Hustle. We're going to throw back 3 years to one of our most popular, most listened to episodes about social listening, about using social media platforms to listen more than you speak, to learn about your audience, learn about your competition, to see trends that are coming up, what people are paying attention to, how you can get your brand and your message in front of them in an authentic way. So using social media to listen more than you speak, more of a sounding board and less of a megaphone. That's the topic today. So we're going to play that episode from 3 years ago, very popular, most listened to, and I have a bonus for you today. So behind the scenes, never before seen outside of IGTV. You guys remember IGTV, right? I have an introduction to the podcast today that is a never before seen footage that gives you a little bit more insight into social listening. So check out the podcast. If you have more questions, you want to know how it relates to 2022, the advice still is very valid. Hit me up on social media and I will be happy to have conversations with you about using social media platforms to listen more than you speak. Check it out. A great podcast today. 10 minutes on social listening, about using social media and all of the digital communication we have today to listen more than you speak, to take in more than you put out, and how you can use that for your personal account, for your business, for your brand, anything in between, to understand what people pay attention to, what they react to, good and bad, what they interact with, how to gain their attention, keep their attention, and then ultimately create a conversion process, whether it's following you on a personal account, making a transaction in business, etc. Whatever it is you're trying to motivate, inspire, and get people to do on social media, you can do it if you understand what motivates them, and you can understand that better if you listen more than you speak, take in more than you put out, and by paying attention to not just what people are doing with you. Obviously, interactions with your accounts make a lot of sense and there's a lot of value to that, but what they're doing with people who do similar things or have similar products or brands that you, and in general, people are paying attention to pop culture, in the news of the day, the time of the year, seasonal, holidays, sports, all kinds of things like this that people react to, that gain attention, keep attention, and then ultimately end up in some sort of conversion. Being a fan of a sports team, going to do business with something that has nothing to do with your business, but the approach, the style, the timing, all those things could tell you how you can manage your social media better, how you can interact with your audience better, and how you can do a better job at the same time. Learn from, listen to, and gain information from the audience themselves. Let audiences tell you what it is they're interested in, they're paying attention to, and ultimately becomes a relationship on social media. Don't think in how directly do I sell. Also, don't just go hard sell. It's social part of social media. Don't be selling on social media, creating relationships. But also, here's something else people miss. And I'm going to give you this, and then I'm going to send you back to that podcast again because it's all in the podcast. Is too many people think about the audience they have. That's great. Pay attention to them, nurture them, etc. But you have to be continually growing and developing new audiences, whether it's a personal account or a business brand. So you do that by attracting new people that you didn't know or expect would be attracted. And that's what you can learn from social listening. What people are paying attention to, things that make authentic sense to how something you can adapt for your brand, for your account. Utilize that, and then you draw people in a different way than the people that are your core audience. Think about that. Different audiences than your core audiences in different ways. If you're not trying to sell them something, but you're trying to create an online relationship, you're trying to gain attention, keep it, and then have an interaction. That is the compass of social listening. Good morning. It's Saturday. I'm in the office. You know what that means. The Saturday Morning Hustle podcast, and I have an ironic topic to cover with you today. Listening. The irony is I'm going to talk for about 10 minutes about listening. I'm talking and I'm not listening, but when you're hosting the podcast by yourself, you have to do all the talking. Hopefully, as you listen to it, if you like the ideas, you dislike the ideas, you agree, you disagree, whatever it is, you will reply back on social media. If you're on the Anchor app. You can call in if you are listening to this podcast in any other way besides Anchor. Hit me up on Twitter and Instagram and reply to what I'm putting out here for you today. So here it is. People are not listening enough. And that's in general. That's absolutely everywhere. Everyone is trying to talk over each other and at each other. And everyone is more interested in speaking in order to be right and not having conversations, which half of a conversation is listening. But more specifically, for this podcast here, for what we're going to talk today, is social media. People are forgetting that the social media is specifically in trying to connect with people, have relationships online, the whole value of electronic digital social media is the fact that we can have conversations with people that we're not in the same room with, that we may not have actually ever met before, not even in the same part of the country, the world, or on at the same time even, but we could still be social with each other. But again, half of a conversation, a social conversation, is listening, and too many people want to speak only and not listen. And not only is it just bad form when it comes to being social on social media, there's actually a ton of business value in social listening. It's something that I talk about a lot on my business podcast, and I'm going to bring it over here today because I believe in it that much, and I believe people are missing that many opportunities by not listening enough on social media, using the digital channels and all of the apps and all of the aspects, all the tools that we have to manage social media, to post and to listen and to watch and to connect. Too many people are just pushing out like a megaphone, one-way conversations, just pure advertising of do this, buy this, go here, click this, follow, just for numbers and not for value, etc. And not enough people are watching conversations, listening to them, making input when it's necessary, when it's potential to be good and positive and add to the conversation, as opposed to just speaking. Also, too many people want to kind of cut someone off immediately with, hey, here's an idea having this topic. It's like, no, you're wrong. Or here's what I think. Or let me change the subject, as opposed to letting people fully put themselves out there. It's one of the reasons you should not. Please don't be talking politics, religion, and sex on social media. Those things you're not supposed to talk about at cocktail parties. We definitely don't want to do it on Twitter. Or Facebook or Instagram or any other place like that, because too many people jump in mid-conversation, and no matter how good-hearted the conversation is, no matter if you started with someone who you have a good relationship with and maybe you have the ability to speak freely with each other and maybe even tease each other or have a sense of humor about it, other people will get involved and they will hijack that conversation. So that's another aspect of people not listening, because people don't want to listen. They want to jump right in the conversation itself, which can hijack the actual conversation that was started to begin with. So again, like as referenced earlier, I talk about social listening for business value a lot on my business podcast, the Neo Marketing Podcast, for the Golden Group. But a lot of people, especially brands, miss the opportunity to use social media platforms as research tools, as testing tools as to what audience attitudes are, not just about your specific product or service, but in general. Are people excited about all kinds of different things? Change in the weather, seasonal, politics or lack of politics, world news, events, big things, sports, all of these things that might be affecting people's attitudes, good, bad, or the other, could be boiled down into something you can use for your business. It's typically not, again, product or service specific, but the attitudes of, we want to see more things like this. We want to see less things like this. We want less politics. We want less vitriol. We want less arguing online. We want more cute puppies. We want more celebrating diversity. We want more video content versus written content. Whatever it is, if you pay attention to what's working well on social media, what people are paying attention to, what they're interacting with, because the attention is the key. Keeping it, and then what you do with the conversion, which is the business aspect of it. But you can't even talk about the conversion business until you get people's attention and keep it. And obviously, we want positive attention. We don't want people paying attention to us because they hate us, or they're mad at us, or they think we're jerks, or they think that we're completely wrong on a subject. It's good for debate, not good for a conversion process. And that's when it comes to a business conversation. But if, as a person, especially if just individual or personal brand, you start with attention, then you have to have conversation. Then you can get into the idea of conversion. And on a personal brand or a self brand or personal level, it's more about creating relationships, followers, people following you, people you're following, conversations you create online that actually bring value to everyone. And it's not about quantity, it's about quality for sure. So back to the idea of social listening. Brands and personal brands and individuals who are trying to master social media need to listen more than they speak. And you need to speak enough that people don't forget about you, keep front of mind, and stay in conversations that are relevant and make sense to you and something that you can add value to. Don't just jump into conversations just because, but bring value to the conversation and try to be positive. If you do that, you create great, positive, very social relationships on social media. But again, half of that needs to be listening. So listen more than you speak if possible. Try to speak about specific things that you have information about, have insight into, you have connection to, that you can bring value to the conversation, not just adding noise, which the less noise that happens, the easier for all of us it is to listen. So it kind of comes again full circle. But pay attention to what people are interacting with positively, the things that they like and dislike, that, and they're giving you information about how you can motivate or inspire or even create a conversion potential when it comes to a business opportunity, because you're doing what the audience is looking for in the way they're looking for it, in a way that makes sense, because you paid attention to them and not because you simply come up with a gimmick or something that has worked in a business potential in the past and just sort of try to push it down people's throats. Why is that a bad idea? Because no one likes it when it happens. So you aren't sitting there thinking, I would love for someone to try to trick me into buying something. No one ever says that. No one ever feels that way. So why is it that advertisers and marketers always want to go down the path of, we're going to push this idea? We have a program, we have a thing we do to try to convince people to create a conversion. Don't do that. Listen to what they're saying, good, bad, and the other. Find the things that motivate them to initiate the conversion process on their own, and then to provide this product or service, the delivery in the way they're looking for it. And now you have the potential for an ongoing, repeatable, sustainable relationship if you listen. That's the message for the day. You have to listen. Social listening is a huge, powerful tool that too many people just don't utilize. So think about it. Put this into use as you're taking time this weekend, looking at people's social media. Listen to what I said here and then reply back somewhere on Twitter, on Instagram. Heck, if you want to send me an email, growth@thegoldengroup.com. I'll take it. We'll discuss it on the next Saturday Morning Hustle. Until then, have a good time. Be good to each other. Listen more than you speak. And think about what you're trying to put out in the universe via social media. Don't be part of the noise. Be part of the solution. Thanks, guys, for hanging out for the bonus episode, the most listened to, most popular top 10 episodes of the Saturday Morning Hustle social listening. Hope you got a lot out of it. That episode was 3 years ago this week, but the advice is still very, very valid. So if you want to know more about it, hit me up on social media, email me. You know how to find me, SaturdayMorningHustle.com. If you want to know more information about how you can use social media for your brand, for social listening, as much as using it to communicate messages outwardly. So check out the SaturdayMorningHustle.com. You got all the merch, got all the past episodes, maybe some other popular episodes you haven't listened as well. And make sure you subscribe. Leave a comment, leave a review. Would really appreciate that as well. I appreciate you guys tuning in each and every week to the Saturday Morning Hustle. I'll be back next week with some brand new content for you.
Saturday Morning Hustle. Saturday Morning Hustle. Saturday Morning Hustle. Wake up and keep chasing.